Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we have a couple small updates to talk about on the Svatove and Bakhmut and Avdiivka fronts. We'll start off with what's going on around Bakhmut. I made a video about this about a week ago or so, but some more developments have happened by the town of Kolomyichykha. The last time I talked about this, the Ukrainians had just captured this Russian tree line which they were using as a fortification with lots of trenches inside of it. Now they've advanced a little further, and even though this does look like a small advance, there's a potential for this to become something really big. They've captured this second small tree line west of the settlement, as well as the entrance into the settlement through this small passage where the canal goes underground. Right now, I think the only positions that Russia still has here are inside of this tree line, as well as this like barn right here, but I don't think this will be too much of an issue. Now Ukrainians are really close to the settlement, and without these small fortifications to protect it, they can start attacking the town itself. The important thing about Kolomyichykha is that it's the gateway to this hill right here. This hill, which you can see the edges of right here, is a lot higher than the surrounding areas. It goes down sort of like a funnel starting up here and then going into the south of Bakhmut. If the Ukrainians can push past Kolomyichykha and then capture the rest of this hill right here, they'll sort of be able to just roll down this hill and reach into Bakhmut. I remember saying that exact sentence so many times in June 2023 when Ukraine was doing their Bakhmut counterattack, but I'm saying it again because stuff's moving, and if you've been watching since then, I'm sorry that you've heard me say that so many times, but that is the major strategy, and the Ukrainians can combine it with the fact that they've already breached the main Russian defense line, which is the rail line in this segment by the lakes. If I throw on the satellite map, you can see that there's a rail line that kind of runs down through here, and then it goes through the middle of Kolomyichykha. If the Ukrainians are able to push through this settlement, that'll put them behind the main Russian defense line in this area. The elevation is pretty much equal, and there's not a whole ton of tree lines in between the main road and the next settlements, and this is where Russia's next line would be. Overall, I think the Ukrainians still have some combat power left over from the offensive. They were careful over the summer not to use it all and can redeploy it where it seems necessary. Although Ukraine's main strategy right now is switched to sort of active defense. The next area I'm going to talk about is Makivka, which is up on the Svatove front. The Ukrainians have done a small push across the river to just kind of get some more breathing room for the settlement. This likely isn't the start to any kind of push or anything, but it's a nice small improving positional move. They mostly just cleared out the fields and took over this major tree line right here and are anchoring this for their defense now. The Russians inside of these trees right here are in a little bit of a weak spot because their back is to the river while the Ukrainians have fields to advance in around this way. Damn, that shit looked like a dinosaur. That is just like actually like a dinosaur. And that's all I've got for this region, and the next area that we're going to talk about is Avdiivka, which probably won't be as positive as these two. The Russians have expanded pretty much in all directions in the north of Avdiivka and are threatening the Ukrainians' main supply road, which is the Industrialani Prospect, which turns into the Vuliadia Hreskovska. I'm just going to call this the main road. And if I turn on the satellite map, you can see how close they actually are to this road. You can see that there's just some trees and buildings kind of in the way of direct fire control of it. Now, this area right here is probably the least fortified direction of Avdiivka because during the war that started in 2014, this was the main part of where the contact line was going on inside of Avdiivka itself. The other main fortified area of Avdiivka is the coke plant right here, and I don't know if that means Coca-Cola or cocaine. They just say coke plant, and this was right by the Ukrainian fortification of Terikon. There's two big things that I think could happen here. The first thing is, since these advances have been made, the Ukrainians have deployed a new batch of reserves here, which may help slow down the advances and could potentially lead to a counterattack, or we could see the supply road be close to being cut, and that could lead the Ukrainians to have to retreat. What is this? I did not mean to turn that on. This is unfortunate because the areas south of Avdiivka, I think I actually messed up the front line, my bad. This is unfortunate because another one of the Ukrainians' most fortified positions are these high-rise buildings right here. If the reserves aren't able to slow down the Russians' advances, we may see a withdrawal from this region. And then from there, I think we'll see a new frontline situation develop. As long as the coke plant doesn't get outflanked like this, I think it'll still be a viable fortification for the Ukrainians to use. I think we'd see defense start to anchor around the coke plant and then probably follow this river, with the Russians probably eventually taking Sheverne and Tonenke. Because if the rest of Avdiivka falls and they're able to get the front line to here, having two vectors of attack here will likely cause Sheverne to fall. From there, I think the Russians would slowly try to fight their way into kind of this crux right here in the river, and then they try to just kind of keep doing this flanking game and push down and eventually reach Krasnohorivka. The good thing is there is a very good natural defense line, which is this river which goes through here, this big river, this river right here, and then there's also this big area with a lot of hills and another river. The geography in here is pretty rough and not friendly, which does help the Ukrainians. And eventually, I think it would take multiple months for them to even reach Novomikhailivka, but this is like worst case scenario. I think likely it's just gonna kind of stabilize around this line, maybe some small advances in this direction, but I think it'll eventually start to hold around something like this. The Ukrainians have definitely been preparing for the fall of Avdiivka. And Novokalinove right here has become more of a fortified settlement, and it just has this nice line which goes through here. And that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the analysis, and that's all I've got. I'll see you later.